Hi, this is Chris Miglino with Sequire Spotlight. I am here with Martin Williams from ABVE Food Corporation, soon to be trading under the symbol ABVE. So welcome. Thanks for joining us today. So tell me this. Have you always been into plant-based foods? Has it always been something that you've done your whole life?
You know, my mother's Italian.
Right.
And in the Italian heritage, a lot of the diet, it just happens to be plants. So we wouldn't have qualified it as plant-based per se, based on current definitions, but it's what was wanting put out, and naturally it's what was on the plate. So my own kind of professional journey is the vital nutrients delivered from plants, but far extraordinary. It's natural for me to find myself, in a plant-based food company eventually.
Well, the information is getting out there. People are eating healthier. There's so much more data about what you're putting in your body now than there was 5-10 years ago. And there's so much more awareness about what people are putting in their body. People are talking about it more. People are engaging in the conversation. People want to live longer. So I think you're in a fantastic spot, and it's really good timing. People are making a conscious decision to eat healthier. So what's so that everybody understands, what's the niche that you guys are providing in the market as it relates to the plant-based foods?
So the broader macro, you set it up well. People want to know what they're eating, where their food's coming from, what are the ingredients of their food. That's the consumer side. To deliver that, global multinational food brands need to look at their supply chain. That's where we come in. We're the largest regenerative producer of food ingredients in the world. There's no one doing what we do at the scale we're doing it. So the niche we occupy is being able to produce higher quality, higher nutrient density, plant-based foods that's broadly defined. Lentils, chickpeas, quinoa, oats, black beans, pinto beans, right? These are things that have been in world diets for a millennia. Mm-hmm. And I think we're just doing it better because we're able to tell a story to our customers and ultimately through to consumers, how the food was grown, where it was grown, who it was grown by, what protocols were used to grow these crops, and how that then translates to growing better soil, improving soil quality, improving that biomass ultimately.
And where is the food grown? Like how are you producing all of this food?
There's this incredible geography that we acquire our food from in the northern plains of the United States. Think the Dakotas, Montana, and then just north of there in Saskatchewan, Canada, which it represents about 40% of Canada's agriculture. This is a group of states and provinces have been growing this way since the 80s. They started growing regeneratively not because it made a sustainability sense. They grew this way because it made economic sense. They were just looking at ways to drive yields and lower input costs. And it just so happened that growing regeneratively, doing things like no-till agriculture, leaving crops fallow, putting cover crops on, simple things like that actually decreased the amount of inputs that they had to put on the soil and drove greater yields. 35 years later, we're the beneficiaries of having thousands of growers and millions of acres that are grown under these types of protocols. So you can think about ABVE Food really as the natural outlet for regeneratively produced ingredients.
So you're taking that expertise and you're applying it to your own brands, and you're building and you're doing white label for other people as well.
That's correct.
Okay, and is that the model that's going to keep going as once you are public, or does that model change a little bit?
No, you think about ABVE as really kind of three parts of the food value chain. You talked about the consumer part, right, which is the things that we interact with every day as consumers, right? What can I buy at the grocery store? That's only a small proportion of our revenues currently, about 8%. Really, where we're focused is food ingredients, being, the kind of intel inside of plant-based food. So the global multinationals, when they're thinking about regenerative, however they're defining that, We want Above Food to be the natural supplier for those ingredients. So that's the second part, specialty ingredients. And then you go all the way back upstream to commodity merchandising, where we're taking lentils and oats and quinoa and black beans and, spring wheat and durum wheat, adding primary value and then supplying those into global markets. Those are really the three parts of our business that will continue, but we're going to continue to prioritize what we call our value add segments, specialty ingredients and consumer product manufacturing that's focused on private label brands, so store brands.
Who pays you in the second pillar and the third pillar? Who's paying you for those services?
There's a premium associated with the types of attributes that we're able to bring through our value chain, whether that's, no glyphosate or very little glyphosate, right? Having the asset base that we have, hard assets on the ground, built out, utilized every day, allows us to sequester these grains to be able to, effectively bring in 179 different grains and 179 different grain silos. We can offer that to global multinational food companies to say, Mr. Bakery, you want a specific, enzyme in your wheat, you want a specific protein content, a falling content, which dictates how big the bubbles are in your bread. We can do that for you. Oh, and you want zero glyphosate? We can ensure that that's true as well, and we can certify that all the way through the piece. So there's a premium associated with that, because downstream as a consumer, to your point, well, I don't want to feed my, kids food that has glyphosate in it. I don't want to, have dubious ingredients in my products, right? That trace and track really starts with where the crops are grown and the asset base that allows us to really ensure that what we're saying on pack is true through the entire value chain.
Interesting.
So there's a premium associated with that. And then downstream, if you think about the consumer products that we create through our brands and through store brands, things like regenerative organic certified, right? Think about that as organic plus, right? We're the largest supplier globally of regeneratively organic certified grains. So are producing that for some of the largest retailers in the nation.
And okay, so what is this translated into dollar-wise? I know you can't talk about some future numbers that haven't been filed yet because it's imminent that you're gonna start trading soon. But give us a picture of what you can talk about from the number side.
So our LTM is 300 million USD. And that represents over a 4-year period about 29% CAGR. So it's high growth model, but really where we're focused is margin expansion. We're at an inflection point in the business where that $300 million of revenue, 60% is being derived from higher volume, lower margin products for us in our what we call our disruptive ag segment. Where we are right now is we're transitioning to have 60% of that revenue derived from the value add segments. Each of those segments represent significant margin expansion. So what we expect to see is the EBITDA margins expand into the next few years.
So that's really the focus is growing. Yeah. I mean, with 300 million in revenue, if you can figure out how to expand the margins, you have a good business.
Well, here's the beautiful thing, right? The business is at an inflection point, not only operationally, how we're thinking about marshaling our resources, but we have an install base of manufacturing assets that are operating at about 30% utilization. And so it's not only a differentiator story, sorry to cut you off.
No.
It's a story that's really about operating leverage as well. Not only are we expanding into the value add segments, but we're driving up utilization, which has a knock-on effect in terms of really dropping, more to the bottom line.
And do you have a sense yet in the SPAC process of, have you defined how much is going to stay in the business, or that's still being defined now?
Still being defined.
Okay.
Right? Until it's done, you don't really know and can't really forecast that. But like a lot of SPAC transactions, you can't assume that a lot of that will stay in trust.
Right.
And so, part of, what we're doing right now is raising a pipe to fund our only constraint, which is working capital.
Mm-hmm. So the working capital is the need for working capital is because there's a high demand for the product. I mean, at $300 million, you have to constantly be pumping out to all these retailers. Do you use big distribution companies for this, or?
Yeah, naturally. Downstream. So again, thinking of the three divisions, downstream in our consumer division, we go to market through distributors. Some of the largest distributors in the nation, we're going through them. Well, we go direct to our customers for specialty ingredients. And most often we go direct to our customers in our disruptive ag. So the working capital really is a matter of just, driving more volume through the turnstiles. But as we move downstream into the more value-add segments, the cash conversion cycle expands as well.
So KPIs, get public, obviously,
Get public.
then expand margins, and then what? Then what's after that?
So get public, drive utilization, which results in the expanded margins.
Okay.
And then take over the world.
Perfect. Have everybody eating plant-based diets all the time.
That's
It's, I was a vegetarian myself for around 7 or 8 years. I think the challenge I ran into was the lack of diversity of the food, which was around, 15 years ago when I tried to do it. I think now there's a lot more choices that are not just soy hot dogs or something, there's a lot more choices for people to go through. And I think it's a lot easier to eat healthy, nowadays. I mean, there's so many health benefits of not eating animals, and just for the conscious element of not, eating another being is a beautiful thing to do too. It's so prevalent in society and everywhere that it's you have to really consciously focus on eating a plant-based diet. I admire you guys for helping people to do that, and to helping people to make that decision. So
We're not here to tell people what they should eat.
no,
We're here to say, if you choose to eat more plants, we've got incredible, affordable, and that's a key piece here, affordable options. That doesn't represent, you trading up. Because if you're eating a meat option right now and you're looking to a plant option that represents a 20, 30% price premium, well, that's a barrier. We're trying to remove those barriers, and the only way to do that is through scale, right? And so, the other piece, get public, drive utilization, drive margins. Scale drives down our retail price.
and scale comes with education, right? Because if the market has education about the benefits of eating plant-based diets, then more people will do it. And so do you guys do any initiatives around educating people about the benefits of eating plant-based diets?
We do a lot of outreach in farmer or grower communities.
Got ya.
Talking about why you should grow these types of plants relative to maybe what your traditional crops would be. That's where it starts. And then our consumer marketing is really focused on, well, what else? What can you do with a lentil? What can you do with an oat that you maybe didn't conceive of before? Because, if you think about the foods that we're creating, the use case is already there. It's just how do you expand people's minds in terms of, well, what else can we do with it? Right. How do you make an incredible, 4-bean gumbo? Right. How do you take an oat and make that a savory dish versus just a sweet dish as we conceive of it as a breakfast food? How do you take a quinoa and add it and sprinkle it into a bunch of different meals because it's such a superfood, right? That's the type of education that we're providing, but it's just through menu options. Consumers don't want to be talked to.
Right.
They want to be partnered with.
Right.
And something that I've learned, in 20 years in the consumer world is be a partner, and find them on their journey and help them wherever they happen to be. If you try to come at it as the expert, they're going to shoot fools at it.
Right.
So how do you partner with them? For us, it's about menu choices. For us, it's about all the incredible uses you can create with these magical plants. And I don't see magic like magic mushrooms, but these are, the phytonutrients in a lentil, in a chickpea, in a pinto bean, even in an oat or a quinoa are incredible.
So I wish you the best of luck on getting public, and I wish you the best of luck on the expansion of your business. So thank you very much for joining us today. I appreciate it. So check it out. You're going to be able to buy this stock soon. ABVE. It's imminently going to be trading, so watch out for it. And Martin, thank you very much for joining us.
Appreciate it, Chris. Thank you.